People like Fred Membe are no longer powerful. You are more powerful than Fred Membe. You that are listening to me now. You can start a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a TikTok page right now. The only ingredients you need is passion and the ability to express yourself and consistency. You put those three things together, or you got a powder keg. You put those three elements together, then you got something to say. So I said all that to say, for those of you that remember, because some of you don't remember that there was a time when Fred Membe's post was so ubiquitous, was so red hot, that the Zambian people didn't know how to function without the post. You know, in those days, it used to be to where you would wake up in the morning, rush to get a copy of the post, go through it, literally devour every article in there, because it was a different time. You know, there was no media as we know it. There was no social media. There were no social media personalities. We didn't have Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We didn't have any of those things, YouTube. Well, the landscape has changed. The digital landscape of this country has evolved, and we have to evolve with it, and we have. Let me say one last thing about that. People don't realize, just to show you how powerful Fred Membe used to be, and he no longer has that power. He no longer wields that power. To show you, to demonstrate how powerful Fred Membe was, do you know that Fred Membe was instrumental? He wasn't the key component, but he played a very huge role to play in ushering in the PF. Do you know this? There was one particular photograph that Fred Membe posted on the front page of the Post newspaper. That single photograph changed the trajectory of the political landscape in this country. That single photograph disarmed the MMD. Do you remember what it was? Tell me in the comments if you remember what. Hey, Stacy, I see you. Tell me in the comments if you remember the one picture that caused the wind of change to blow in the direction of the PF. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. This was the key that turned the lock. This one photograph changed everything. Please tell me in the comments if you remember. I know this because I was there. I know this because I had my finger on the pulse. I know this because I was a keen observer. I saw what was happening, and it was happening in full color, Dolby sound, 4K. Tell me in the comments if you remember the one picture that changed the political topography of this country and that helped the Zambian people decide on choosing Michael Sata's PF over Rupia Banda's MMD. For those of you that don't recall, let me educate you. There was a picture that the Post posted of Michael Sata addressing a mammoth crowd. Do you remember this? A mammoth crowd. And it was the first time, now you got to remember, this was before social media. Okay, so all the news we had was either on ZNBC, which was state-owned, which is still state-owned, and independent newspapers like the Post newspaper, which had a divergent view. They departed from government's position. And generally people gravitate towards that, especially when you're dealing with a brutal regime. When you are dealing with a totalitarian regime, people value dissenting voices. People value a divergent view. And Fred Membe had that. And the Post newspaper posted this photograph of Michael Sata as the opposition leader of the Patriotic Front, addressing a crowd so big, it was so red hot, it was so gargantuan. As far as the eye could see, it was just a sea of people. And from that one photograph, the Zambian people deduced, the Zambian people concluded, nay, the Zambian people decided that we're going to leave Rupiah Banda's MMD, besides they've been in there 20 years, 20 years is long enough, the Zambian people pretty much deduced. And they said, we're going to try this guy, Michael Sata, as unpredictable as he is, we're going to give him a try. As unhinged as he is, we're going to give him a try. And I remember in those days, people made fun of the PF cabinet. What would a PF cabinet look like? I mean, it was scary. Some of the characters that they were floating initially in that first stream of the PF cabinet, oh my God, they were scary. These boys look like zombies. You looked at them and you think, what, this is what we're going to end up with? Are you serious? You're going to tell me that this is what we're going to have to do? It was a scary time, okay? But I said all that to say this, and please forgive my repetitiveness, but it bears repeating, is that when you hear Fred Membe talking now, part of the reason why Fred is frustrated is because he knows that he no longer wields, the word wield? You know what a sword is? In Zambia we say swedge. How the hell we get swedge from sword is totally beyond me. You know what a sword is? That long metal instrument? It's called a sword. When you do this, you are wielding. You're doing this. That's wielding. Fred Membe no longer wields the power he once had in the stratosphere of social media. Stacey's laughing. He doesn't have that. And that's the reason he's mainly frustrated. It's like a man that was once a prize fighter. You know what a prize fighter is? A boxer that was once feared in the ring. When you heard his name, you shivered, you quivered with fear. You didn't know what to do. You stepped into the ring with this monstrosity of a fighter. It's like that fighter. And then all of a sudden, one day, enough time passes, that same fighter is no longer feared. That's what Fred Membe is going through. And to a degree, we all go through that because, we go through a period of, we reach our peak and then we start to decline and then eventually we leave this planet. We all go through it. Now, let's get to what Fred Membe has been arrested for. And there's a lot to unpack there, but I'm going to do everything within my power to sort of condense it. So here's the thing. Fred Membe, yesterday or the day before yesterday, he wrote a scathing article. And the contents of that article are what landed him in problems. I'm going to pick up 3 points, 3 things. He said many things, but I will highlight 3 things that he said. First of all, he talked about ECL's body as if Hakainde Hichilema is standing in the way, is prohibiting, is stopping the burial of ECL. Everybody knows nothing could be further from the truth. And for you to understand the truth of that, for you to understand that comprehensively, you must first of all go back to the day that Tabo Kawana, remember Tabo Kawana? This was back when ECL was alive. There was a period where we didn't know where he was or what his health status was. Tabo Kawana hinted that there are rumors coming out of South Africa, kuti ECL was gravely ill. Do you remember that? Do you remember what happened when Thabo Kawana sort of came out and said, you know, we understand that the president has been diagnosed with a terminal illness and we're praying for him. Oh my goodness. Sean Zero Lunatic Tembo comes out of the gates and he sues Thabo Kawana for, I don't know what the hell that was. What was it? How much was it? 50 billion? Some ridiculous figure. Sean Tembo came out, burst out of the gate and said, how dare you insinuate? How dare you imply? How dare you deduce that something's wrong with ECL? Everybody knows ECL is fine. Everybody knows that ECL is in tip-top condition. Everybody knows that ECL has simply gone to South Africa for a procedure that he always goes through, and everything is fine. Everything's hunky-dory. There is nothing out of place. This Thabo Kawana has made a statement. We are going to sue the pants off of that chap. How dare he insinuate that ECL is unwell? And what did the Zambian people do? Because you see, Zambians, for some reason, we feel that it is intrusive to ask about someone's health status. No, don't ask him. Why? He's the head of state. The health status of a president is tethered to the trajectory of a country. Do you understand that? Are you hearing that? Let me say that again because I think it's important. The health status of a president, especially a sitting president, an active president, is tied to the trajectory of a country. Meaning, when the president is alive, he's kicking, he's well, he's cognizant. The country is going in a specific direction. If something happens to the head of state, that direction changes. That is why it is very important to know the health status of a sitting president. Now, in this case, ECL was not a sitting president, albeit, but he was a former president nonetheless. The rules still applied to him. Then fast forward, all of a sudden, we just heard from nowhere. It was like a rock fell out of the sky. Not a rock, a boulder. You know what a boulder is? A rock is about that big. A boulder is gargantuan. It's massive. It was like a boulder fell out of the sky and just landed on top of our heads. ECL is dead. We were confused. Dead how? How is he dead? The PF assured us that ECL was in South Africa undergoing a normal, regular procedure. So all of a sudden, what, he's dead now? To add insult to injury, instead of acknowledging the demise of our former president, the PF and its cohorts, namely Oyo Raphael Hijacker Nakachinda, one of the first things he did was he went on South African national television and he said, oh, the family thinks that ECL was poisoned. Really? You think that? Oh yeah, the family thinks he was poisoned. And as a political party, we as the PF, we side with the family. And if the family feel that ECL was poisoned, we as a party, we support their views. That's what Raphael Crazy Nakachinda said. Well, we know he was lying through his teeth. Nobody poisoned the ECL. He died because he succumbed. He died because he succumbed to his ailment. Something's going to take us out one day. You that are watching this right now, one of these days we're going to read on social media, so-and-so dies. Because something's going to take you out. We're not designed to live forever. One of these days, you're going to wake up and say, you're going to wake up and read it, Chitambala Mwewa dies. It's going to happen. It is an inevitability. There you go. It's inevitable. It will happen. So there's nothing strange. There's nothing unique. There's nothing abstract about a person dying. But the PF, they tried to spiritualize it by even implying that HH wanted to personally do something with ECL's body. That's got to be the most stupid, the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard on this side of the Milky Way. Let me tell you why. You see, when a person dies, it is a normal procedure to identify and verify that it is the person indeed that is dead. The PF somehow had it in their minds that no, we can bury as quickly and as expeditiously as possible without anyone viewing the body, without anyone verifying indeed that the one in that coffin is the very one. The one laying in that coffin is the ECL. The PF did not want to do that. Why? Because they wanted to add an air of mysticism around the ECL's burial. There's nothing spiritual or abstract about ECL's demise. There's nothing. But the PF were trying to make it like that. No, they even went as far as saying, but why does Hakainde Hichilema want to touch the body? When you know good and hell well, that's not the case. The state wanted and still wants to accord the former head of state a befitting send-off by virtue of the fact that he served as the 7th president of this republic. Full stop. It's got nothing to do with HH wanting to do anything to or with the body. But because these chaps, these PF chaps, they know that in this country there is a constituency of people that believe such nonsense. They know that there are some members of the electorate who believe that rubbish. Oh, well, if folks does something to the body, total nonsense. Derailing, deflecting attention from the real mission. And in any case, we've been saying it and we'll never stop saying it. When Kenneth Kaunda died, Given light-skinned, straight-haired Given Luwinda is on record as having said, if the Kaunda family want to stay away, they can stay away. If we were going to bury Kaunda, because he's a former, not only is he a former head of state, he is the father of the nation. His burial must be one that is befitting the father of the nation. That is what Given Luwinda said. Have you ever heard HH say, to hell with the Lungos? He's never said that. Have you ever heard HH say, if they don't want to come, they shouldn't come? Have you ever heard him say that? He's never said that. The only thing HH has ever wanted to facilitate, and this is the extent of his involvement, is to facilitate the send-off of a former head of state in a manner that is befitting. Full stop. Now, let's go to Fred Membe. Fred Membe has issued a statement that has landed him in a problem because we are living in a cyber-induced environment. What that means is there are cyber laws now. When you as a leader, you as an influencer, you issue statements that are misleading, you'll be taken to task. What I found interesting about what Fred complained about, Fred says, he says, HH, Fred does this thing where he's talking and then he leans forward, he does this. HH, when Watchdog talk about us, you do nothing. When Koswe talk about us, you do nothing. Well, here's the thing, guys. If Watchdog and Koswe say something that is wrong or that breaks the law, go and complain there to the police. You are the one aggrieved. If Koswe and Watchdog issue a false statement, you think government is going to take Koswe? For what? I mean, for who? For what? For why? If you feel that Koswe has said something against you, Fred Membe, and you feel aggrieved, government is not going to take Koswe to court on your behalf, Fred Membe. It won't do that. It is you who feel aggrieved. If Koswe says something out of turn and you feel aggrieved, take them to task. Take those chaps to court. Simple. What is strange about that? No, when Koswe talks, you don't do anything. When Watchdog talks, you don't do anything. Well, listen, if you're aggrieved, you take those guys to court. Government is not going to take Koswe to court on your behalf. Do you understand that? You know, this is the problem with these politicians. They oversimplify everything. They oversimplify everything. Now, Fred Membe has put his foot in the cow dung by insinuating that HH is actively blocking the burial process of ECL. That is not only misleading, it's false. It is false. Everybody knows. I mean, this is on record. This is there. Everybody knows that HH, along with this administration, they have bent over backwards to try and facilitate a burial, a funeral that is befitting of a former head of state. The reason the Lungu family are pushing against that is obvious. They don't want their father to be buried here in Zambia because they don't want to have to face the law when they come here. So it is convenient for them to bury their father in a foreign country. It is convenient because it gives them a way of escape so that they don't have to face the law for the things that they did when they were in power. That's what it is. If you don't look at it in that way, you'll be misled. These chaps will mislead you. They're up to no good. The last thing I wanted to just mention, I wrote it down. Fred Membe says, why was HH offended when he was depicted in a coffin? Well, the people that generated that image, you know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words? That SG, the Secretary General, because apparently he's the one who generated that image, the Secretary General of the NDC, allegedly generated that image showing HH in a coffin. What that SG was saying was that he was possibly planning harm against the head of state. Now, everybody knows that when it comes to the presidency, not Hagainde Hichilema, the presidency, the office of president, when it comes to the presidency, what you say about that office attracts a lot of attention. I keep giving you the same example. If you were to talk about Donald Trump in America like that, CIA, FBI, they will come knocking. They will come knocking. What were you saying when you posted that? What is the essence of what you are saying here? Can you explain it to us so that we understand? And Bwana, in Zambia, the people that that address you are not Central Police. Central Police can hold you, yes. But red brick, when it comes to the safety of the head of state, any head of state, when it comes to the safety of the head of state, red brick are the people who sit down with you and they ask you, Manje picture, what are you saying? Are you planning on doing something? What is the insinuation here? Bwana, they will take you to task and they don't stop. Why? Because the safety of the presidency is paramount. Simple. If you don't accept that, then you are misled. Then you are lost in the wilderness and we can't find and we won't find you. Even if we send a search party for you, you shall be lost. You will be blown into oblivion. That's just how it is. The only thing Fred Membe said that I agree with, and this is the only thing that I agree with, is when he referred to HH as umulumendo. That is true. Because Fred Membe is 66 years old. Hakainde Hichilema is 63 years old. So Fred Membe is well within his rights as someone being older than the head of state to refer to the head of state as umulumendo, because Fred is 66, HH is 63. So there's no disrespect there. But if you want to Bwana, Fred Membe is not correct, and he knows that when he implies that the president is actively standing in the way of a burial procession, that is not true. Fred Membe is misleading not only his party members, but he's misleading the general public at large. That's what it is. My father used to say that. This what is? What's his? My dad used to say, what's his? What is his? Alrighty. I gotta go. Thanks for watching. God bless. A few comments maybe. I like the way you articulate issues. Thank you. Somebody says, you are also misleading the nation. What do you mean the family wanted to bury ECL in South Africa and in order to invade the law? Well, you're saying invade. I think you mean evade. There's a difference between invade and evade. When you are speaking English, speak it in the manner it was meant to be spoken. The word is evade, not invade. I mean, this is there. Everybody knows that there was a move by the Lungu family to try to attempt to bury ECL in South Africa there. I mean, that's a fact. If you don't know that, then you are behind. Iwe atinani, opinion. If you don't know that, then you are behind. Okay? That's what it is. All right. Thank you so much. God bless. I gotta go. I gotta go pick up my daughter. Love you guys. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Love you. You press, it's not switching off. You press. Oh,